Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. I was always going to say Sunday morning, but it's obviously not morning. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My time and schedule and everything is so completely off because I am pretty much up every single night with this new baby. I got this article the other day, like a few days, as you can see at the top, August 13th, 2021. Was when it came out, and when I saw it I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna do a video on this so bad, but I haven't had the time. So right now you might hear a few things, so I'll address it. You're gonna hear people mowing the lawn. I'm telling you, my neighbors mow their lawn like freaking every day. That's what it feels like. And then you're probably gonna hear my son. So my husband is upstairs with my son and my daughter, so he's like trying to keep them as occupied as he can so I can do this. I'm like, I want to do this video. So anyway, I'm super excited about this. You might hear it in my voice. This article is basically talking about the 2020 census, and I'm gonna just read some of the things, and I'm just gonna read the entire article. I'm not gonna read some of the things. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, but when I read it, I was just very, very excited about it. So anyhow, let me start. So at the beginning it says, good morning. The 2020 census shows America is changing. We're looking at how. Okay. And a changing country. The United States population is getting more diverse according to new data from the 2020 census that offers a once-in-a-decade look at the makeup of America. Over the past 10 years, people who identified as Hispanic, Asian, or more than one race accounted for larger shares of the population, the data shows. Yes! Anyway, diversity is rising in almost every country. The overall U.S. population, though, grew at the slowest rate in nearly a century. William Frey, a demographer at the Brookings Institution, described as the data as a pivotal moment for the country. We have people of color who are younger and growing more rapidly, he told the Times. Sabrina Taverny, St. Robert, Gabeloff, whatever. They are helping to propel us further into a century where diversity is going to be the signature of our demography. Here are some takeaways from the new data. New demographics. The share of people who identify as white has been declining since the 1960s, when the U.S. opened up more widely to immigrants from outside of Europe. But over the past decade, the total number of white people fell for the first time. The total population has grown at a drastically slower rate over the past decade. As David Leonhardt, has explained in this newsletter, slower population growth can expand economic opportunities for women, but it also reflects American society's failure to support families. The growth that did occur since 2010, an increase of about 23 million people, was made up entirely of people who identified as Hispanic, Asian, Black, or more than one race. Yay! Anyhow, these charts show where in the U.S. the changes were most pronounced. How the population makeup changed in the U.S. And so basically it's just kind of showing what the demography is from 1980, 2020. Okay. The multi-generational category added to the census only 20 years ago is the fastest growing group in the U.S. That could account for some of the decline of the white population, social scientists say. People of more than one race who previously chose white on the census form can now answer more accurately. Yay! Anyhow, let me keep going. Fast-growing cities. The fastest-growing big city in the country is Phoenix, which surpassed Philadelphia as the fifth largest. Immigration, a tech boom, and middle-class California seeking affordable housing all contributed to Phoenix's growth. The Times, Jack, blah, 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 explains. The change in Phoenix reflects a trend. All 10 of the largest U.S. cities saw their populations rise in the past decade. 3 big cities in Texas, Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas outpaced the national average. New York City also grew by nearly 8%, defying predictions that its population was on the decline. The city now accounts for nearly 44% of the state's total population. Metro area that grew fastest since the last census, though, was not a major city. It was the Villages, America's largest retirement community located outside Orlando, Florida. Political consequences. The new census data will launch an intense scramble to redraw districts for the House of Representatives, which states do once per decade. Legislators control redistricting in most states and can draw gerrymandered congressional maps that advantage their party, which will help determine who will win control of the House in next year's midterm elections. The data was less favorable to Republicans than some experts expected. The Times, blah, 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 writes, rural areas, white people's share of the population shrank, while traditionally Democratic cities and increasingly Democratic suburbs grew. But Republican-controlled legislators will still get to redraw 187 maps compared to the Democrats' 84. The parties do not compete on a level playing field. Our colleague Nick Corasanti, who covers politics, told us, while it is still very early to fully grasp the impact of the new data, it is perhaps the most important to remember who will be drawing the maps. Let's see. And I think that's pretty much it, right? That's it. So this is really exciting to me because it's basically proving that there's more and more people who are getting sick and tired of being identified in either the white or black box. And it's just, it feels good because there's been so many people on social media as of recent, I would say within the past few years or so. You have people like me, you had other YouTubers, you had people who used to be on this platform who are no longer on this platform, who used to push for mixed race people to be called their own group. I'm one of those people who fights for Latino/Hispanic people to become their own group or to become our own racial category. And just the fact that there's people that are finally saying, I'm sick and tired of being lumped in a box, in this box or that box. I'm going to start identifying myself the way I choose to. And it's just refreshing to see that there are more people on board with our message than with the old rhetoric that's been being pushed that you have to be in either white or black box. And I think that people are sick and tired of it. And it's just, this really made me feel good. It really did. I don't think I've ever told anybody on YouTube about this, but a few months ago, I actually wrote to the Census. Like, I actually wrote to the Census, and I was basically talking about how they should consider us to be our own group, our own racial category. And, I made like a whole, I did like a whole plan out thing as how we're, basically that most of us are mixed race people. And, basically kind of giving them suggestions on how within the next census, how they should kind of ask certain questions and how we should be able to identify ourselves without having to feel like we have to be put into a certain box, and basically to be able to get to a point where we don't have to put ourselves in a white or black box at all, that we can just identify ourselves as Hispanic or Latino if we choose to. And it feels like they're listening. Like, I'm getting the impression that these people are listening. And at first I was like, no, they're not listening. Because, when you hear people online and they're talking about how, no, this country is run by white people and white supremacy dictates this, and this means that you're this race, and this means that you're that, and they're putting us in this box. And it's like, no, man, times are changing. We're having more power than we used to, than we ever did. We're starting to take that power into our own hands, and we're starting to say, hey, we're deciding to define ourselves the way we choose to define ourselves. And we're not going to let anybody else do that for us anymore. And I just think that it's really great. So when I saw this, it put a smile on my face, and it also made me feel like, oh, well, maybe what it is that we're doing on here, people like me, people like, the certain platforms that are talking about, multiracial type movements and mixed race movements, and people talking about, issues within like the community, light skin issues, stuff like that. And now I'm starting to feel like our voices are being heard just by seeing this article, and it felt really good. I don't know if you can hear him, but it sounds like my son is like yelling for me right now. Even though I know my husband is taking care of it, I feel like he's calling for me. That's just how I feel. It's just my maternal instincts. So I'm gonna go for now. I thought this was some really exciting news, and I hope that everybody else found this to be as exciting as I did. So I think with that, I'm going to go for now, and I'll see you all in my next video. I'll do what I always do, and I'll leave this in the description box. So, yeah. Anyhow, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.